Welcome to my open dialogue with British Columbia Premier Christy Clark. Ms. Clark, April was Autism Awareness in the province. And I've read the Ministry of Children's and Families news release on the subject and how you're doing all this and that and everything else and how everything's just perfect for autistic kids in the province. Yeah, okay. Now we're done with the usual liberal whitewash. We'll get over your fraud. As you're aware, issues have been raised against School District 54 Smithers Secondary School in relation to segregation, their involvement in segregation of special needs kids into homeroom classroom. Segregation being a dynamic of discrimination and also against the law in the province. And Canada, I might add. What actions have you and your government taken to resolve that issue? Truth of the issue is you've done nothing, right? This from a premier that said she was about families. And truth of the issue is you've done nothing. The school board's in violation of discrimination for that segregation. Given Section 2 of the Attorney General Act, which commands Attorney General maintain the government in accordance with the laws of the land, it draws a serious question to this government's failure to the people, would be my disposition. Not only is School District 54 segregating kids, but there were issues because of that segregation that abused those children and traumatized them and left them in tears every day and resulted in an assault of a child, all of which School District 54 Smithers Secondary is now covering up, in the very essence of that issue is a criminal act. Covering up child crimes atrocities is a criminal act in this province, and I'm wondering what your education minister is doing about their alleged criminal activity around that matter, and what he's doing to protect the children, being that you're this government of the families now, all about families. The fact of the issue is Smithers Secondary is involved in some pretty significant fraud in the community, and I suggest you get on it. If you're going to be the premier, that is. Now, it doesn't stop there, however, because we're well aware of the Patterson case at School District 35 Langley. And how once again we see where an autistic child's education is being eroded away by the school's failure to know how to deal with them effectively, which is the same case in Smithers Secondary. You know, you say autistic kids have learning disabilities. Let me suggest to you their actual learning disability is the education ministry's fraud in providing them with education. I can tell you that for a fact my son is behind exactly the amount of time that the school has eroded his education away by their nonsense and their failed approach of dealing with it. Exactly. In other words, if you would have known what you were doing, he'd be right up there. There wouldn't be an issue. But see, you're the cause to the issue, and we're going to be addressing that matter. In the Langley case, the school year is almost over, and rather than being accountable and responsible to the law, what have we seen? Almost a year of this traumatization of a child. In fact, teachers had to write WorkSafe BC to protect themselves. Yet not one of the people Not one of the teacher's aides in Smithers Secondary or the teacher, and obviously not the teachers in the Langley School ever upheld the child protection laws, because every one of them had a legal responsibility within the protection of children from that traumatization. Every one of them is in contravention of the law. So I think you need to take a little back step here, a serious back step about being all that on autism. The issue in Langley goes beyond the elementary school, because we note the Langley Teachers Association actually has published the child's name. So they're warning people about this, quote, monster child. Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's also a serious matter, because once again, we see where it doesn't acknowledge the law. The child's not accountable because of his age and because of his disability. He's not accountable to anything, and you're blaming him for everything, when in actual fact, the fault lies on Langley School District for failing to have the properly trained staff. They're under investigation, and I kid you not, Langley School District is under investigation for that matter, and that investigation can turn criminal, and probably will, as it is in Smithers. I think you need to do some explaining myself before you go to the election on your fraud to British Columbians on autism. But then that's just me. I tend to be accountable around these issues. You, the Liberal government, what we've seen to date, has been little more than a fraud. Good day, Ms. Clark.
A sad reality when politicians' careers mean more than the children.